Hey, how's it going, Brandon? It's me, Zach, and we are back here with another video. The videos that are meant to help you grow as a player, learning about all the different decks. And the deck that we're going to be learning about today is going to be QuagNag or Quagsire Naganadel. So the goal of this deck is to basically use a combination of Naganadels charging up. So this allows them, once during their turn, they may attach a basic energy card from their discard pile to Naganadel. And they use Quagsire's washout ability. So as often as they like during their turn, they can move a water energy from one of their bench Pokemon to their active Pokemon. So that allows them to attack with Quagsire, Naganadel, Keldeo GX, Kyogre, and Volcanion Prism Star. So they have a lot of options to attack with. So I know that this deck can be quite different to play against because they do have Keldeo GX's Pure Heart, which prevents all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's GX or EX Pokemon. Considering your deck is based off attacking with Pikachu and Zekrom GX and Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX, you are definitely going to have to change your strategy against this deck. So I'll explain it and then I'll go over some strategies that you can use. So here they have a Ditto Prism Star, and Ditto Prism Star they use for Almighty Evolution. So Almighty Evolution allows them to evolve Ditto Prism Star into any one of their Stage 1 Pokemon. So they could evolve it into a Naganadel, and they could evolve into a Quagsire. They basically play it to count as an extra Poipole or an extra Wooper. Next up, they do have a Dedenne. So they can't attack with this card unless you put out a Thunder Mountain in play, because it will stop their cost of the Lightning, and they can attack with Static Shock or Tingly Return GX. No need to worry, your opponent likely won't use that at all. It doesn't really make sense for them to attack with this in the matchup. They're using it for Dedenne Change to draw some new cards. The only benefit that this deck gets from discarding anything is discarding water energies to get them back with Naganadels charging up. Another thing that your deck another thing that your deck might need to worry about is Mew. And that's because Bench Barrier is going to block damage done to their bench Pokemon. So that means your Tag Bolt GX can't snipe their bench. So you need to try to take out the Mew, or hopefully they don't get out Mew, because otherwise Tag Bolt won't be able to get you necessary prize cards. If you are deciding to attack with Tag Bolt GX, just be careful that they don't have a Mew in play. They're not really going to be attacking with it at all using Psy Power. That doesn't really happen. Next up here, they have Poipole. Poipole is just going to be one of those Pokemon that they use to evolve into Naganadel. Similar to Ditto. It's one of those things where they might use Spit Poison against you. That's going to be the least of your worries. The biggest worries that you have in this matchup are going to be Keldeo GX and Mew. Going on here, they have charging up, so they're going to build up as many energies as they can into play to power up their Pokemon. They're going to move them around with Quagsire's washout ability, and that's going to mean that they can do some stuff. They can attack with turning points, but for the most part, like I said, in the matchup, they want to attack with Keldeo GX because it's hard for you to knock out this Pokemon. Speaking about Keldeo GX, that's the next Pokemon that we have up. So prevents all effects of the GXs that you have in your deck. They're going to slowly attack you with Sonic Edge, or if you have enough bench Pokemon in play, they are going to knock you out with Resolute Blade GX. So this is something you got to watch out for. The best Pokemon that you have, and the only Pokemon that you have that can attack against this, are your Zapdos, which would require you to have, how many Electro Powers does that require? 10, and if you bring it to the active, that's 80. Plus 1 Electro Power is 110, 2 Electro Powers is 140, 3 Electro Powers is 170. So a Zapdos with 3 Electro Power would be able to knock out a Keldeo GX. Another thing that can knock out a Keldeo GX, and it's something that you're not going to think of very often, is Tapu Koko Prism Star. You can use Full Blitz to power up a Tapu Koko Prism Star. It can use Mach Bolt, and with 2 Electro Powers can knock out a Keldeo GX. So try to knock out some other Pokemon in play, and then knock out Keldeo GX with a Mach Bolt. Seems like the great strategy. We'll see exactly if that can come out in the next game that we play. And I'm going to be playing with your Pikachu Zekrom GX deck against this QuagNag deck. So we'll see exactly how the matchup works out. Next up, we got Kyogre. So if they want to attack with a single prize card Pokemon, you can see it's only worth 1 prize card. They can use Grand Wave for 120 damage. This is one of the best options that they have for attacking in this deck. Or if Dual Splash somehow comes out, which usually in this matchup it won't, they can snipe a couple Pokemon that you put into play. Moving on, they have Volcanion Prism Star. This card is a great way for them to get water energy into the discard pile. And if they do, they can switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, but you are the one that chooses the new bench Pokemon to bring up, not your opponent. So do remember that. Sauna Blast is not a bad attack, doing 100 damage, and it can spread some nice little damage counters around on your opponent's bench. So it's one of those, or on your bench, I guess, since you're the one who's playing against this deck. So it's one of those things where they can add up a little bit of damage with Sauna Blast, maybe finish things off with Dual Splash, or it can help them do a little bit more damage with Hydro Pump, with them needing less energies. Next up here, we got Wooper. Wooper, Smiling Pokemon, the Water Fish Pokemon. It has Ram 10, Rain Splash 28. This card doesn't really matter. They're usually like Ditto Prism Star, and you'll see I've brought up Ditto a few times. It's used to evolve into a Quagsire. Quagsire, it can use Washout, bring all those energies that they have around and just moving them towards the active so they can always attack with a fresh Pokemon every single turn. Hydro Pump can do a lot of damage if they put a lot of water energies on this Pokemon. They would need to have 9 energies in play and move them all to Quagsire to knock out a Pikachu Zekrom, or they need to have 10 energies in play to move them all forward and knock out a Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX. Not very common, but that's what they can do. We'll move on to the Trainers Supporter Stadiums section. We have Custom Catcher. This is a card that you play in your deck, so you should know exactly what it does. They can use it to draw some cards, or they could bring up one of your Pokemon. Just be careful with the Pokemon that you're putting down and that you're not giving them easy prize cards to knock out. This deck can be inconsistent at times, so it's one of those things that you need to watch out for. If they are getting Custom Catchers, it might not be possible for them to draw into them. You never know. Next up, they have Mysterious Treasure. Mysterious Treasure is going to search out Mew, Poipole, and Naganadel. That is all it can search out. And it can discard a card. And like I said, they want to be discarding water energies to get out energy in the discard pile to power up with Charging Up. Got a couple copies of Pokegear here just to give their deck a little bit more consistency to find their supporter cards. They might not have a supporter card in their hand, or they might not have the supporter card in their hand that they want to play. Pokegear would be a great way for them to kind of grab one of those Pokemon, or one of those supporters from their deck, or the top 7 cards of their deck, I should say. Next up is Pokemon Communication. It's a card that you play, so you should know exactly what it does. They can take any one of their Pokemon, and they can totally put it back and grab out any one of their other Pokemon that they need. So it's great for their deck in that way. Viridian Forest, this is a card that you could play. If your opponent plays one out, it could search out a Lightning Energy for you. They discard a card. Again, for discarding cards, they probably want to discard a Water Energy, get in the discard pile for Charging Up. And they could search their deck for another Water Energy if they need to attach one for their turn. Now, you could always discard a Lightning Energy to get into your discard pile for Tapu Koko Prism Star's Dance of the Ancient ability, or you could just search your deck for a Lightning Energy if you really need one. So don't forget, if they have a Viridian Forest in play, that you could use it as well. Cynthia, it's a simple shuffle and draw 6 cards kind of supporter. Pretty simple stuff going on here. They do have Lily, pretty simple again. You can draw cards until you have 6 in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8 in their hands. Their goal on turn 1 is to get out as many Ditto, Poipole, and Wooper, and specifically against your deck, they wouldn't mind getting out a Keldeo GX and a Mew, and try to lower their hand and draw as many cards as they can with Lily. Nothing too serious going on here. Then we have Tate and Liza. So they use this instead of playing Switch. We can see we have the new alternative art of this card here. You can shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards, or they could switch their active with one of their bench, whichever they decide is a little bit better there. And last but not least, they do have 10 copies of Water Energies to power up or retreat all of their Pokemon that they have in this deck. So those are the Pokemon that they have in this deck that they'll be attaching Water Energies to and trying to get them in the discard pile for Charging Up. So basically, the main things that you need to worry about when you're facing against this matchup is that you want to knock out Keldeo GX with either your Zapdos and or your Tapu Koko Prism Star. You want to watch out for bench barrier when you're trying to use Tag Bolt against your opponent. And you got to watch out for how many energies they have in play, because Hydro Pump can sneak up on you if they are able to get 10 energies in play very quickly. Last but not least, I think the other thing that you should worry about is Turning Point. If your opponent has 3 prize cards left, they can hit for 160. 160 can be a lot, especially in combination with a custom catcher against your own Dedenne. So this deck is super simple, and in the next video, we're going to completely go over it, show you exactly how to play against this deck. And I really hope that's helpful towards you. This deck is probably within the top 10 most popular decks right now, so there's a good chance you could face it at tournaments. They try to play this deck to go against GX Pokemon and decks that are weak to fire. So it's mainly a counter towards Ability Zard or Green's Reshiram Charizard GX. But beyond that, it's one of those things where this deck is just pretty much, it does what it does, and you got to get around Keldeo GX. They're going to use that against your deck the most. So as I said, using Tapu Kokos as an attacker to use Mach Bolt with a couple Electro Powers, that can definitely knock out Keldeo GX. Otherwise, you could use Zapdos and hit for 170 by playing 3 Electro Powers if you bring it up from the bench. So I will jump into the next video right away to see exactly how the games went with your exact Pikachu Zekrom deck against this exact Quagsire and Ganadel deck. Just so you can see how the matchup really works. Beyond that, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask me during our next coaching session. Don't hesitate to ask your brother Ryan. The more and more that you learn about the game of Pokemon, the better it's going to become for you. So I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video today, Brandon. And yeah, this is where we're at. And don't forget these tips that I've told you. It's one of those things I'll show you in the next video exactly how the matchup goes. But in terms of words, it's more about knocking out the Keldeo GX. That's the one thing that I could say that's probably going to be the best thing that you could be doing in this matchup. So I'll let you go. Have yourself a great one, and be sure to watch the next video. Bye.